So I'm just taking a walk along the bank of the River Severn in Shrewsbury. This is this year's cygnets. They're all hanging around here together with the ducks and the odd gull, because this is an outfall. So I don't know quite what they're getting there. Whether it's just the fresh water running in, or oh no, it's because somebody's dumped a whole load of bread. We get a lot of that here because there's a lot of the public come walking here, bringing their dogs and their stale bread, thinking they're doing something good for the wildlife. I speak to them sometimes and they don't get it. They don't understand what you're saying. I think you're a weirdo. And the other problem with that is that when they throw it all over the riverbanks, you get all the pigeons, the feral pigeons. Now, it's treed all the way along the bank here, but it seems to be when you get away from the houses on this side, as we come towards the weir and it opens out, so we have the park on the one side and residential on the other, but down here it opens out. The wind has just taken out a few trees down here. It just seems to have eddied around this part here, taking out some willows. So these are appropriately named crack willows, and that one's definitely cracked. You could see that, if we look up here, there was decay, there was a defect. Okay, can you see there's even from that wound, there's a wound there, probably from an old branch removal or tear out. There's even aerial roots, look, coming into the core of the stem. So it was weakened, it had decay. It's got brackets on it, hoof brackets, but it's an impressive split. It's almost Matek's devil's ears kind of thing. That's Klaus Matek, The Body Language of Trees, a definitive book on biomechanics of trees, written about 10 years ago. See, it's got another bracket up there. It's not uncommon for trees like this to have brackets, they're everywhere, and especially where there's a wound, that's definitely been cut off, that branch. It didn't naturally come off, and the cut wound never healed, and there's now decay and fungus there. That would have caused a decay column down into the centre of the stem. That's also a contributor to the problem. So it was a defective tree that then succumbed to a massive load. When the storm hit, I just live up there. I was watching the tree movements. When it's a really big storm, I love to watch the tree movements. And I'm always amazed how they gyrate and dissipate the energy of a storm. That's how they've evolved over millions of years, and it works well. but it doesn't work all that well if you've got a defect. Here again we've got another one. This one's interesting. This one's a Scots pine. Seemingly healthy Scots pine, but it did bifurcate at that point there. And we see when we inspect the fallen wood that actually this was included bark. Okay, so at this point here the tree was not bonded together. All the sap coming out of it now. Smells gorgeous. So this weak union at this point here is what's caused this tree to fail. It's split itself in two, and then the whole lot has snapped off at that point there. Quite dramatic, because it's otherwise a sort of tree in its prime, just coming to full maturity. But I've looked at that tree before now when I've walked along here and thought, yeah, you know, one day it's gonna succumb, because the top is just getting bigger and bushier, and there's just more wind loading on that weak fork. You see up here as well, there's poplar. Not too bad, it's just got a couple of snapped limbs suspended in the tree. Again, you know, it's another fast growing pioneer type species that's notoriously snappy. And now if we move further down towards the weir, we have another very large crack willow that has suffered catastrophic failure. You know, some of these trees have been pollarded in the past, sometimes by the people that manage the rivers. I don't know whether that's just a snap that occurred, or whether this tree fell and snapped that tree. It's probably more like it and brought it down. But we'll go and have a look at the stem, because that is impressive. You know, to cause that sort of damage you need massive forces. Trees are not in leaf now, so that was not a contributory factor. You know, there was less sail area than if they were in leaf, but still dramatic stuff. But again, you know, if we look in there, there's reasons for its failure. Trees don't just fail for no reason. We can see decay. So, on this day when we realise there's a new variant of COVID-19 that seems to be particularly dangerous, we also had a storm, and this is the effect. You can see how the wood's shattered into small bits, you know, so it was obviously brittle. You know, there's a lot of decay in that. Look, there's woodworm even, and it's very light. That's as light as a feather, really. Even that, you know, it's a chunky piece of wood which I can hold outstretched, no problem, because it's got no strength left. You know, both cellulose and lignin have gone when it's at that stage. But it's incredible, isn't it? Look at that. If you'd have been here at the time, that would have made an enormous scrunching and splitting sound would have been quite dramatic, I think. And again, here we see that same fungus. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. It's crazy because I was down there the day before and the trees still had leaves on them. And it's really noticeable. We come down here the next day and it's like the leaves have been stripped
It
off.
blew them all off, yeah. So he's saying there were leaves on. There were some, but most had already gone. This one's been surveyed in the past. It has a tag on it. Okay. I suppose some of you are saying, well, what do you do now? Well, I suppose you pollard the whole thing again at this point. You know, because that's about to go as well. That one's got all sorts of brackets on it. It's in a weakened state. You know, and there's a recognition of some hazard and therefore liability to the public, this being a public park. They're going to have to come along here and do some work, get the chainsaws on it, and I think if they pollarded it to the bowl at the bottom, it would come back again quite nicely. That's kind of the natural cycle in a way of these sorts of trees. You can see there, look at that, there's even worms and soil inside the tree, so it was clearly hollow, defective. Somebody over there is messing about pulling branches down, I don't know why. So there we can see this is the main problem that caused the failure of that limb. So that was another crack willow, Salix fragilis. Carrying on my walk down to the weir, for those viewers who haven't seen the weir. The river is up. It's mostly a storm of wind, not rain, but the weir's quite high. So this here is the salmon ladder, so the fish can get up, swim out that end. It gets them past this major obstacle. You see there, that's a lot of water going down there, and that big stopper is deadly. On the other side is the old salmon ladder, which is blocked, or they said it didn't work for some reason, so they went to great expense and built this one. Salmon numbers are down, massively down this year. It's interesting, the fishermen were told that they could not take any more. Some nice houses up here. The fishermen were told that they could not take fish from the river. And they had a guy from some fishing organisation moaning about it. What an idiot, there's no fish, don't take them. And he said, oh, it's unfair to deny fishermen their enjoyment of the river. Oh, for God's sake. Just walking back now to the crack willow, the crack willow. I'll film it from the other angle and you can see the scale of it. Just climb up the bank here. Got my hands freezing from holding the camera. So there you go, there's the whole tree. crash bang wallop. So you can pull the branch off that one there. If we go higher, that's the Scotty pine there that snapped. At least there's its replacement, look, next to it. This one here is a Scotty pine. That'll have a bit more light and room now to get going. It's very nutrient rich here because it is a sort of floodplain area. Probably is deluged about 2-3 times a year, and then there's a whole load of silt left on it, nutrient rich silt. It is absolutely dog walker paradise though, and if you wander off into the rough ground, you do run the risk of stepping on dog poo because it's everywhere. Really?
I work for the Environment Agency, so
yeah, I know, yeah.
But usually it shouldn't be hibernating in the trees. But bigger trees they will do. But yeah, no.
But it had defects. It was a problem waiting to happen, right?
Yeah, that's. I mean, well, you can see it, can't you? You can see where.
So should it not have been pollarded before now, as part of management? Hello, well, you look a bit mean.
Daddy, don't. Ned, come on. I'm sort of of the opinion sometimes the trees are over-managed. You know, really natural succession. This is what they should be doing. They should be falling over bits of bark, so it's a bit different. So I get frustrated with my Neddy. Come here.
Yeah, it is what they do, isn't it? Crack willows, they just
Yeah. This is exactly what they want to do, and then, like you say, you lose, you lose one habitat, but then it makes another. You know. Just like just trying to look at stuff. I think that's the next hole is there. You can see the bottom of here.
the what? A nest hole.
There was a nest hole, yeah. Another one. I think that's the nuthatch one that's there.
Oh, you can see a bit of fluff, yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
Next year they'll have to find somewhere else.
Firewood for somebody. Yeah.
Not the best firewood though.
It's not. No, willow's not. But it's.
It was hollow.
Yeah. I mean that.
Yeah.
It's the problem. That's why it's cracked. Isn't it? The water that's got in it is resting.
So yeah, there's nest material. So you think that was a nuthatch?
Just leggy.
But it's been done before, right? That's an old pollard, I suspect.
Well, we've taken quite a bit off of this over time as well. Had to, because we use this as our winching point to winch anything off the weir.
Oh, when it's blocking the weir.
Yeah, which is again, it frustrates me because I want trees in the river. I want them to remain in the river. I keep telling people fish live in trees, and they do. So they, really quite an important integral part of the river. Is that breakdown the woody material in there.
But not wedged there.
It'll go
over in a flood. Yeah.
It's not flood risk.
So then, when it's wedged on a bank somewhere, that's habitat.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And then you get all your barbel hiding under it or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look online, there's some fantastic footage. It's generally not in this country. You see how barbel behave under trees, and then initially when the tree, all material like this is fantastic for fry refuge initially, and then that'll break down over time. Again, when the trees fall that way, so when we do too much pollarding and we don't get any crashing into the river, the side of the river, but there's always this panic about flood risk and stuff like that, and Yeah, it's generally not, although the next flood that we get coming down here, there is going to be a lot of timber coming this way, so it'll be interesting.
Now when they clear this up, can they not, I know this floods here, can they not just put it as habitat on the bank somewhere?
We do that up there. See,
oh right.
See everything that we, generally what we pull out.
You've wedged it all in there, yeah.
Yeah, we just stick big wood piles in there. Potentially it will get used by lots of things, even an otter will go into that.
Yeah.
That's what we do. A bit of it. A lot. They'll take this away. They'll take a lot of this away. I mean, it'll be nothing to do with us. It's pretty precarious, though, isn't it? I keep thinking I'm standing under it.
Yeah, it's not bad, but.
Well, it's not as bad as it gets with that wind still, isn't it?
Yeah. See ya. So that was interesting. He's the he works for the Environment Agency, and he manages this section of river. So he knows what's here. What was I going to do? I was just going to look at, see when, in the past when trees have fallen, he says they just pile it all up. Why that doesn't get washed away, I don't know. That's a bit of ash, I think. Yeah. Bit of ash tree, Fraxinus excelsior. Someone's been chewing on that, look, probably a dog. So, but I could see that, yeah, an otter might like to just hang out in there for a bit. It's very easy to slip in the water here. But the problem is the dog walkers. There's so many dogs that you just can't be safe if you're a wildlife wanting to use the riverbank here.